Ladies and gentlemen, hello. It's fantastic to see you. It's Tuesday, it's March 4th, it's 2013. Welcome to daily number 687, where we're going to learn today to be a better gamer. I'm in my Zerg Spirit shirt from Team Liquid because I'm cheering on TLO, who took first place in WCS Group F, and we'll be looking at his games today, doing some fantastic learnings. Ooh, I'm actually super excited about this because TLO is doing what might on the surface look kind of normal-ish, but is actually one of the greatest examples of how innovative and clever he is as a player. We're going to be seeing TLO tackle perhaps the toughest question in the Zerg vs. Protoss matchup. What the hell is Protoss doing? And how the hell do I respond? How the what the in the fuck? That is the core question of ZvP. We'll talk about why in a little bit, and we'll do the show. First, let me tell you that on Wednesday, tomorrow, I'll be doing a mid-range Paladin at Hearthstone. On Thursday, we'll be looking at Grubby vs. Koss, also from Group F. Fantissimo series. Then on Friday, I'm going to be playing Banished, because my god, I can raise a village. I'm also trying to lose weight. Guess what? I weigh almost 240 pounds at 6'4". It's a lot of pounds, but by June 1st, we're probably going to be 190 pounds. It's going to be just easy tumble down to 190, not a problem. It's going to freak you. You're just going to be amazed. You're going to be like, oh, is there some sort of terminal prehistoric disease devouring his body? No, I just eat salads. Let's talk about the Zerg vs. Protoss matchup. Delicious, wholesome water. I've been getting good sleep, can you tell? So here's what's funky about the way Zerg vs. Terran, or Zerg vs. Terran. Have I been saying Zerg vs. Terran the whole time? I meant to say Zerg vs. Protoss. Zerg vs. Protoss, Zerg vs. Protoss is what I'm doing. Zerg vs. Protoss. Zerg vs. Protoss is the topic. If I did say Terran, please let me know, and I'll apologize to you. Zerg vs. Protoss. Here's the biggest struggle ever. We just don't know what Protoss is doing for quite some time. And in fact, you know, like I'm not even going to spend a terribly large amount of time talking about it on my face. I can actually come to the game screen and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So this is on Frost. Obviously, Grubby's here because you just saw him on the minimap there. But let's take a look at what TLO's doing. In the Zerg vs. Protoss matchup, generally it's fairly safe to get these 3 hatches up. Maybe sometimes you can't. But here's one thing that we can all say for certain about the matchup. This is about what you get to know. You get to know if the Forge is researching, and that's about it. This can be an incredibly insane feeling for a new player, even an experienced player. It can be so maddening. You can be like, oh, what is he doing? And this is where this is actually where the feeling of rock, paper, scissors emerges. Now that's false. Don't buy into it. StarCraft has, I mean, there are very small particular situations, and even then not really. Rock, paper, scissors, that false feeling comes out of a spot like this. Right now, I'm going to close the production tab. What is this Protoss player doing? Is he getting ready to build gateways to flood us with a bunch of +1 attack units? Perhaps he's going for a robo facility and we're going to see an Immortal Sentry all in. If he is going for a mass gateway attack, is he doing it with these gas geysers? Oh, sorry, my mouse is totally stuck. Let me just circle it around a little bit. Okay, we should be good now. I think I really got to replace this mouse. It's driving me insane. So yeah. Is he doing the gateway all in with these gases without? Perhaps he's just going Stargate and he's going to expand and he's intending on getting this +1. He might even be getting Blink +2. He might even be just going for Dark Templar. I want you to think about how all of those are legit strategies. Gateway rushes, robo pushes, Stargate expands, Blink Stalker, Dark Templar. Very different, all legit, based upon seeing this +1 attack weapon. And And the where rock, paper, scissors come from is people feel like, well, you know what, let me focus on dealing with like a gateway push. And then, oh, whoops, he was going Dark Templar. Oh, I prepared wrong. Or, I'm sure this has happened to you, let me build anti-air defenses in case he's going for a Stargate. And then instead it's the Robo Push! So this is where this false feeling comes. I prepare for one thing, he does another. What we're going to see from TLO is that he does a brilliant job, absolutely brilliant, of scouting, determining what his opponent is doing, and not over-preparing too soon. But he'll do an excellent job scouting what's up, and then upon seeing it, here's the consistent theme I want you to look for in all of these games. TLO is very aggressive to Protosses who try to take a third too thinly. TLO is very aggressive to Protosses who will try to take a third too thinly. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop back to the start of the game, and we're going to see this opener out of TLO that he's actually going to do quite a bit that's just so good. Oh, we got TLO up here. We're going to start in the opening phases. But I'd like to recap once again what we're going to see out of TLO, not an over-committal in any way to what the Protoss player could be doing. After some very great scouting and appropriate identification of what the opponent is doing, TLO is going to do a brilliant answer that allows him to punish the third base expand attempt. Now, normally what a Zerg player does is they go, all right, dude, you get your natural. Oh, dude, you're getting a third base? Well, I'm Zerg, so I mean, I'm not allowed to attack. No, sir. Most Zerg players will do something like get a fourth base. Most Zerg players will try to respond with counterplay. Ooh, I'm going to wind up getting Mutalisks and fly around. Or, ooh, I'm going to go head on and get the swarm hosts up because I heard those were broken in a forum. But what we're going to see out of TLO is he's going to do attacks that are very, very atypical, but still extremely strong. Very unusual. It's all going to exploit what our Protoss player can't be doing. And we're going to look at like 4 or 5 games. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to see the variations. TLO gets the first thwack off, so he's able to repel this probe and get his expansion up. Now here's the first thing that I love. Natural timing. Third base goes down. Yo, extractor goes down. I don't know why I said yo, but you know, it was fun. I had a good time. Zergling speed is going to be the choice for our good friend Mr. Little One. Very thin number of queens. We've seen some Zerg players really mass up the queens early. Very defensive, flows well into something like swarm hosts. But we're not going to see TLO do that. It's actually going to be quite thin on queens. I want to stop here at the 5-minute mark to just batter something home about the other things that Zerg does. If you watch GSL or other tournaments, WCS going on right now, you can identify early on from what decisions the Zerg makes if he's trying to do something way later, or if he's leaving open potential for some early attacking. Building lots of queens for defense early on works great for swarm hosts later. Things like getting a macro hatch pretty early on, very expensive, so tends to help for bigger armies later. We need a lot more drones to support that. It's better later. Very easy to think, oh, extra hatch means extra units for earlier attacks, but you need the economy to be able to support it. So you again, kind of sacrifice the early stuff to be able to do stuff later. What's other ones? Generally fast spire plays, because if you go 3 hatch and then you get a spire, you can't really do much till later on, so we tend to see lots of big swells of gas early and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of signals that go on to the deep end of when we're going to attack, but TLO is just going to be hitting it much earlier. And one of the big signals to that is, of course, cutting queens heavily. So first thing that I like, the 2 lings moving directly cross-map, spotting this, and not doing a lot of the scouting around. In fact, only a little while later, only around the time that TLO is getting his metabolic boost, do we see another pair of Lings. And look at where these ones are rallied. This second round of Lings are the ones that are going to be spotting for some sort of proxy pylon. And you might ask yourself, well, what are we going to do if there's some sort of proxy pylon? Well, don't worry. We're going to look at that right afterwards. So yeah, look at that. Zergling moving out. You know what's something interesting that we don't really see? Third queen. No third queen in sight. Another interesting thing we see. TLO leaves 2 in gas. He's pulled 1 out, but he's leaving 2 in. So as I stop at the 6-minute mark, again we note usual things, Zergling speed, spotting with overlords and Lings checking around. But there's 3 subtle things I want you to take note of right now. First one is the delay in the queen. There's just no way to support it. We even have some extra over larva. Second subtle thing, pulled 1 out of gas, left 2 in. That's very weird. And the third, perhaps most subtle thing of all, first 2 Lings went straight to our opponent's base to monitor what's up. And then the backup Lings are the ones scouting around. At this moment in time, the 6-minute mark, we really don't have a clue what our opponent's up to. We know that he can't really get any of his tech done until around 7 minutes. He can easily do little cancels and funky switch around aroos. So the third queen comes in quite late for Mr. LO. So TLO has done some very smart placement right now. Of those 2 backup Lings, remember those fine guys? Well, one of them went and scouted up here. The other one did a nice little, one overlord went down this way, and the other one just checked at this watchtower and moved right to the front. Look at the vision from TLO. With this Zergling, this Zergling, this Zergling, and this overlord, TLO has a nice cup of vision. If anything moves out, he gets to see it. That's very important for dealing with warp prism harass, with dealing with a delayed probe moving out, with dealing with Stargate units popping out early. And we too see TLO just getting a couple more Zerglings. He's just trickling a few in. And right now, as we're at this 7-minute mark, TLO has understandably doubt as to what could possibly be going on. Very common timing to send the overlord in is at 7 minutes. So we see the Roach Warren going down. There's not an insanely fast layer. There's still 2 in gas. There's a potential for a fast layer, but we don't see that. Zerglings are spotting everything that's going on. This probe, not a chance in hell that this probe's going to be able to stay alive because speed is done. So these probes are now very easy to pick off. Now, I will note something that might be a little easy to miss. At this point in time, TLO doesn't know what his opponent is doing. And he gets the layer just by default at 7 minutes. He just does that. There's a sort of hidden juncture in here that you just gotta know about. That's like so freaking important for staying alive early. This Roach Warren that's finishing up doesn't have any gas to build that many roaches. So what's going on? Well, I'll tell you, because I'm not a jerk. TLO gets this Roach Warren quite early, and then if he sees a big gateway push coming that's going to be very aggressive, he has the potential to get the Roach Warren up and to get the roaches up. But if he doesn't see anything, great, he gets the layer. If he sees no gateway aggression, he has the option to go for a layer right away very safely. And there's the Phoenix showing up. Excellent. Let's see how TLO answers this. He's still droning, spining like crazy. Nice. So I've spent a pretty long amount of time on this first 7.5 minutes because there's so many threats, there's so many things to worry about. Oh, there's that probe moving out. I killed it off. Okay, cool. We're good against gateway attacks. We've scouted against that. Oh, God, but I still don't know if he's going for like Robo or Twilight Council or Phoenix. Okay, he is going Phoenix. Alright, we know everything we need to know. So cool. Cross off all possibilities. Except Phoenix ones. Now, if my opponent's going for air, aka Phoenix, he's just not going to be very strong on ground. He can't have a lot of gateways. He can't have a lot of robo units. TLO is going to use this to his advantage to try to shut down a third base. Now, I'm going to state 2 facts. Fact number 1. 3-base Roach Hydra will be very successful against pretty much 2-base anything from Protoss. So that's the first thing I want to note. Actually, I will pause. Yeah, 3-base Roach Hydra will be pretty much 2-base anything for Protoss. Nice. And the second important fact, because we saw Phoenixes, is that there's just not a lot of ground units. So nice. Last little thing, TLO is adding Spore Crawlers to the outside expansions first. Look at this, it's a little over halfway done. This is close to done, this is close to done. And in the main, that's the last priority, so great. The instant TLO started to get his layer up, just 4 gas right away, no problem. Even goes up to a 5th gas. Very unusual looking. Wow, a 6th gas. Not all at once. 4, boom, popped out right away. The other one sort of took a little bit of time. Hydraless Den comes up right away, makes a lot of sense. Now, from the Protoss standpoint of things, Protoss is going, okay, cool. I have identified that you are getting a Hydralisk Den. What's good against Hydras? Colossus. Pretty much every player who's going air will follow up with Colossus of some kind. Or occasionally with some Twilight Council play, such as Charge Zealot with Void Ray. Either way, here is just one of the most damned common things you will ever see. Fast, 3rd Nexus. So, I mean, a lot of the frustration that Zergs experience in this matchup come from this very moment. Well, gee, if I have to worry about so many things, it feels like rock, paper, scissors, and oh man, how can I deal with all the stuff he's doing without building all these defenses? And Protoss just took a 3rd base. It feels really frustrating to build all the defenses in the world as Zerg. And then an expansion goes down. And we can't even attack the expansion. Ugh, it can be so annoying! In fact, most Protosses are doing very, very thin 3rd base plays. Like 3 gateways that aren't even warping in all the time, and a non-ranged Colossus. They're crazy, man. Like, I live in LA, and when I, like, go visit friends in other cities, and they're like, oh yeah, just leave the front door unlocked, it's fine, no one will come in. I'm like, what are you, a Protoss defending his 3rd? What are you, insane? Dude, there's like 7 locks to get into my house, I think, literally. Anyways, so this very thin expansion is the choice for Grubby. I mean, he has +1 attack, he's getting +1 armor, but in the unit count, there's a Sentry, 5 Zealots, Colossus, generally is started right now, but I mean, there's only really going to be like 1 most of the time. So let's see how TLO deals with this. First and foremost, we see Roach Speed, Hydra Speed come up, a Nidus Network come up, and Queens begin to get produced. Why Queens? Very beefy units, very good against Colossus. In fact, surprisingly good against Colossus. Hydralisks coming out first to repel these Phoenixes. Nidus Network in the most difficult to scout location. Although generally hallucinated Phoenixes will still be on the way right now. And we'll be able to see that. But it really doesn't matter. There's going to be 5 Queens, all marching their way into this Nidus Network. This location is not insanely aggressive. It's just relatively nearby. Remember the Zergling speed we got early? Makes it impossible for a Protoss player to prevent this from happening. And, yeah, air units can't prevent a Nidus Network from planting down. All gateway units are going to get absolutely trucked. And we now have a lot of options. We can push here, and there's not a terribly huge amount of units here. We can push here. If we push and kill it, great, creep fills this in. But TLO just sets himself up another option. Right there at the front there. And is just spreading creep. And there's very little that a Protoss player can do about this at this point. And we see out of Grubby the very expected series of things. Colossus, which amazingly isn't out yet. Twilight Council, which is pretty normally going to be popping out at just around now. And we have to emphasize some things that we're not seeing out of TLO. No fourth hatchery going down. Drone count is not up above 70. It's just chilling calmly at 65. Queens are being produced out of all these hatches. That's where a lot of the additional money is going. Defensive Nidus networks to be able to hold expansions. We're also seeing no evolution chamber. Almost always we get that evolution chamber up. If there's one signal Zerg's trying to win way down that side, it's like double evolution chamber early, even super early single evolution chamber. I want +2 attack for when my swarm hosts arrive. Not here, just straight and to the point. And this is very high percentage. Very, 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 very high percentage. Very, very difficult for a Protoss player who goes Stargate and then expand to be able to hold this off. So yeah, very straightforward. Queens try to get in the way of wherever the Colossus is probably going to be. Surprisingly, they're just not here. The Colossus didn't finish. Doesn't matter. Really, like a 0% chance of that really mattering. So it gets killed off. TLO just already breaching the front and just sending more units in. Really great. Really clean. Excellent win. Mainly Hydras and Queens and some Roaches. Beautiful. So we did a fairly in-depth look at the first 7.5 minutes of that game to make sure we covered everything that could possibly be going on, to make sure that we were appropriately making preparations against those gateway attacks. Ooh, it seems very scary. And then we said, air. All right, cool. This guy's not going to have almost any ground defense. We're going to go straight up to Hydralisks. Yeah. And think about the options that you have. If he does go for a fast third after Stargate, you know he has almost nothing, and then you just do this. What if he went Stargate, and then he's staying on 2 base? Well, already I told you Roach Hydra on 3 base beats almost anything on 2 base for Protoss. And you have all sorts of options. You can go Ling with speed Hydras, take a 4th and go Spire as Jadong does. You have a huge range of options. There's so much flexibility. Really, the instant that you see the Phoenixes come out, that many Zergs neglect because so much of the Zerg focus is later on, but we're going to see out of TLO, most of his thinking is in exploiting how weak this Phoenix player is right now as he's taking that third. So when we come back, we're going to see more ways in which TLO exploits a lot of these typical early openers from Protoss with attacks all centered around the third. It's super cool, it's super great, it makes me very happy, so we'll watch it right after this break.